How I think we know it more in Poland is, we drink when we are happy and we drink when we are sad, yes? Because it's like you can find any excuse. It's just, either rewarding yourself or drowning your sorrows, yes?
Correct. Some people are more risky, and those are the ones that I tend to study because sometimes their systems are so disbalanced that they put their hand in the stove and it hurts and they will do it again because that feedback doesn't come around. We don't have to think that short-term decisions are wrong, just like our bad decisions. Like both are needed. That's why we have both. Like we have part of the systems in place. We need to put everything together.
The second part of our conversation with our honorable guest, Paola, today is on decision making in a complex world. And this is something, actually, this is Paola's research area, so I'm sure you will be able to tell us a lot about it, and maybe intertwining your research and personal experiences and, whatever you want to tell us about it, that would be great. So why don't you go with the first question, Kamil?
Yeah, Paula, how to make good decisions?
Okay, I'm going to ask you something. How do you think we make a decision?
Sorry, say that again.
How do you think we make a decision?
How do we make a decision? We take information that are given to us, and it depends on the situation. Maybe it's a step ahead of us, like a physical step, or maybe something bigger. We analyze it better or less, and then we decide to, I don't know, move or do something else. So I don't know. I'm a quality guy by heart, so I always think about processes. So there's always an input, then something happens, and there's an output. So that's what I always thought about it like that.
It's pretty much a process, but it's a bunch of processes at the same time. And so before
Can I give an answer before you give like the very scientific answer to that?
Yes. Go for it.
My favorite two words. It depends.
It depends.
It depends. Because sometimes we take everything into account, we think about it logically in many different ways, and sometimes we go with our impulse, yes? So I know possibly in the neuroscience, in the way this all boils down to one process, but I think it's a spectrum. So this is my kind of very naive point of view on that, but let's hear from the experts.
I think it's a mix of both of your answers, sorry. So before deciding if there is a good decision or a bad decision, let's think about how decisions work. And what Camille said, it's right. It's a process, but not just one. There are multiple processes that are happening in our brain. And what Eric said was also right. It depends. It depends on how are we feeling, how are we evaluating things, if we're stressed, if we're fatigued, if we are sad. It depends in how much evidence or how much information we have. It depends on what type of decision we're making. And this is because our brain, think about it like a machine within many machines. There are many systems in our brain that would help us make this decision. Some areas or some systems in our brain are designed to help us plan and make a good choice and think through all the consequences. Others are more motivational and emotional. And so those are the ones that highlight quick because that might be associated with something that makes me feel good. Some of them are related to how we go through the evidence that we have collected throughout the time. And some others would help us think about this uncertainty and wait out. Is it good or is it bad? What is going to happen? But within all of this, and then we have all of these chemicals that are going around our brain that would tell us like, where am I going to have the rush? And there's a little piece more than it's the learning piece. Like, is this how I'm going to process this and how I'm going to store the consequence of the decision? So it depends. you can make a very rash decision because, well, in a neurotypical brain, there is like a big process where, there are multiple models that we can talk about, but a simpler way to see it is like, okay, we first step into the valuation portion. So we wait it out, like, so we take the evidence that I have, I put attention into these specific pieces, and then there is this emotional piece that is like, okay, how am I going to feel with this? Once you take all that information, you move to the execution and the processing, and this is where you wait out things. And when you say like, okay, I'm going to do A or B. And once that happens, we get into the feedback or this learning piece where we're like, okay, now this is what happened. Let's say that I was going to jump a puddle, and I kind of calculate, I'm like, yeah, I can do this. And then I fell into the puddle. So the consequence is like, no, I couldn't. My legs are not that long. And now I'm all wet. Now, saying that, making decisions, first, there's always going to be uncertainty. If we wouldn't have uncertainty, then we would be just executing almost a rule. Mm-hmm. So it's about like how much we weight into things. In a neurotypical brain, we would take into account all of this evidence, and we would think in the long term. But sometimes brains are a little bit more atypical, and they don't perform how we expect, and some of these systems are dysregulated. Like, this is like more of a like, we're moving from like what normalcy would look like, and I don't like that word, but let's use it for now. But as I mentioned, it's not just about how our brain is working, it's also about what's happening around. So I'm going to do an exercise with you. Let's say that we went to have dinner together.
Okay.
And Camille had a great week, and Jarek had a very stressful week. And we have to choose between chocolate cake and a salad.
Okay.
And both of you have been eating super healthy. You wouldn't want to get any weight. Like, you've been trying to do all the things right. And so this is a very simple, silly decision. What are we choosing? Are we eating the salad or are we eating the chocolate cake? You also can switch the behaviors.
So I had the good week, yeah. I had the really. I would reward myself with a cake. If everything went really well, I'd probably have it. But then on the other hand, yeah, if it's maybe I actually go for the salad, because if it's all been so good, I don't know, Paula, what I'm having. Maybe I have both.
Maybe you have both. How about you, Jarek?
Again, I'm overusing it, but it really depends. It's because one thing is kind of rewarding yourself for like a good week, but then like wiping your tears with a cake if it was a bad week or stressful week. Mm-hmm. So it's I know we're talking about the reward versus kind of like a punishment or something like that, but it's a hard. It might be a decision on the spot, actually. It's one of those things. I know that this is not, we didn't talk about this fight or flight, this is not such a decision. But how I think we know it more in Poland is, we drink when we are happy and we drink when we are sad, yes? Because it's like, you can find any excuse. It's just, either rewarding yourself or drowning your sorrows, yes?
Correct. So this is how exactly decisions work. You don't have, it depends on where you are at that point. Mm-hmm. Could be that you say, like Jarek's approach was very, very rational in saying, yeah, this might be a good thing right now, but then in the long term, I'm going to feel bad because I've been doing it's been a bad week, but I've been doing great. And now I'm going to get all of this sugar, and what's the point? And then yours is my happy mood. So your emotions are coming in and saying, oh, yes, I'm having the greatest week. I'm celebrating this great week. I'm eating the cake. Could have been the other way around and say, would have been less rational, like not rational, less logic, and could have said, you know what, this has been the worst week. I need a little bit of dopamine and serotonin. I'm gonna eat the cake. And you could have been the one saying, like, I'm doing great. I'm not gonna mess up. Like, the salad is gonna be great for, like, I'm gonna get the fiber and all the vitamins, and I'm gonna keep up with all the hard work that I've been doing. So this is how decisions go through. It depends on what's happening, what is happening around us, and how much we value things between one thing and the other. And I thought it was very interesting what you just said. We drink when we're happy, we drink when we're sad. But so here comes like these like the cultural background that we're talking that would get embedded into how you make a decision. Because we always drink, so it doesn't matter. And there was, I think you said something else about how we justify things. So sometimes like our brains might know, or we might know something be good or bad. I don't think there's like, in this case, there's not a good or bad thing, but there might be a good or a bad thing. But sometimes, even though we don't have, like we have the knowledge of something that it's good or bad, we decide doing the opposite. And this is something called cognitive dissonance, where we're going against something and we're trying to rationalize what we're doing just to make us feel better.
This connects a bit with the addictions that you were talking about earlier, because if we're addicted to something, we can always justify the behavior that, that let's say they think we're addicted to. There's always justification why we're not really addicted. We're telling ourselves, but there's always something. Oh, we do it because, and we continue in our addiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. This is the way that this is where one possibility in how you can become addicted, because you're just finding not excuses, but your justifications on why something is happening or why you're doing a specific thing. The thing is that when let's say that our brain, I know I talk about multiple systems, but normally we go through a short-term or a long-term decision. The logic, rational piece of it is the long-term, because we're thinking on the future, and then we're looking trying to look all the evidence to make a decision. When we think about like the short-term, it's more about reward and emotions. And so which one are we waiting in is where it stands. What happens with addiction is that we keep giving input to the short term, to the reward, and the motivational piece in the emotional piece of our brain. And so, and this might probably bring it back, but this is one of those things that our brain is not made up. Like our brain cannot handle so much input into our emotions and motivation, like on that short-term piece. It shouldn't be constantly stimulated. And so when we do that, when we're constantly giving into it, it just gets dysregulated. And that's one of the ways that we can end up being addicted to something.
I heard a really good expression on one of the conferences at work somewhere. It was in a different context. It was when they talked about stress of presentations, and the presenter said their brains were marinated in cortisol. They were marinating in cortisol all the time, and it feels like that when you had it for a moment of time, when it's one decision or maybe a moment, it's fine. But when it becomes just a constant, your brain's marinated in a short-term, I guess, emotional cocktail, you might end up in a bad mood. All right, that's interesting.
So one of our earlier episodes, we were talking about delayed reward. So with addictions, there's no thinking about delaying the reward. It has to be now.
In the immediate.
And this is what, again, going into generalizations, this is what our culture became, these days, that we have to have a reward right away. And it's a funny thing, it's just an example. And I don't know if it goes with a reward. So I go to the gym, and it's a big gym. Sometimes there are people, they must be putting that on YouTube channel or Instagram. There are people actually filming, so there's somebody filming somebody else doing exercises. And, sometimes it's kind of like, I think, I'm doing my exercises, but it's kind of this thinking, it's like, how much do you have to be out there and to get this immediate reward, from, yes, you have great body, you can do great exercises and so on, but this kind of presence always being there and, I need to get clicks. We don't care about that, yeah, Kamil? Clicks.
Well, Eric, I just wanted to tell you, some people like to share how they, raise and throw iron. Some of the others like to, share how they talk to each other. But I get completely what you're saying. And my comment was actually, I wanted to say, we demand instant gratification, but also I think the world demands instant answers or good answers, or like we've talked about tests beforehand, Paula, and you said like there were 2 or 3 attempts and you have a bit of a time to actually prepare for it, yeah, or like get yourself together, like basically be in peace with yourself to actually go to that challenge. And now everything's a startup, everything's like, has to be a success very quickly. Like when you start a company, when you run a podcast, everything just goes like exponentially. And I think it just puts fuel into that bit. Like it's another buzzword which you're going to hear a lot, which actually has a lot of positive things, says like learn to fail quickly. Yeah, in business, like for example, that's a big thing right now. When you learn whatever, fail quickly. If you're failing, just make the decision to stop and do something else. But I think it's actually this immediate test or this immediate result you're getting of certain things also just puts more fuel into quicker decision, better decision. Again, better. I want to ask you, Paula, in a moment, is there you've mentioned that, is there a better or a worse decision? But yeah, we ended up in a very sad place again. Jarek, let's come back to the cake and because we always. Whenever we've talked about this kind of stuff, and you mentioned the gym and being somewhere over there, we always end up in quite of a gloomy place. Let's talk about the good decisions. Let's talk about the good decisions right now. Let's talk about yes.
How to make a good decision.
Are there any good decisions or bad decisions on that, Paula?
No, I don't think there is a good decision or bad decision. There are more adequate decisions or not. So. Right.
But it's usually a choice between A or B.
Correct.
Yes? So
which one is the one that it's gonna, like, where are you waiting out what would be more beneficial to you? That's what happens when you make a decision. Of course, like I can go back. Let's forget the cake, because in my mind, there's not a right or wrong.
What would you choose?
Probably cake.
Cake?
Yeah, like
the cake?
I don't think there is a right or wrong. Like
independent of a bad week or good week?
Well, I think it's good. So my motivation wouldn't be if it was a good week or a bad week. My motivation would be what I'm craving. So, like, if you ask me right now, it'd be like, oh, cake sounds awesome. If it would be summer, probably I'm gonna be like, and I'm not a chocolate cake person, so. But in a summer week, I would be like, no, salad sounds delicious. So
okay.
But I'm also biased here a little bit because I trained as a nutritionist, and so in my mind, food doesn't have a good or a bad color. It's more about some are more energy dense and some are less energy dense. And of course, like chocolate cake is not going to give me all the fiber and vitamins that I might need, but chocolate cake emotionally might make me feel good, and so. I think I'm going to go a little bit over the tangent, but food is not just about nourishing the body. It's also about nourishing the soul. And so this is like, I know I was a cheat because I gave you a very tough example, but there is not a good or wrong decision in here. Like,
but at some point, you know,
But-
you are trying to escape
No,
the
no.
question.
But let's
There are
say that,
sometimes better decisions and sometimes worse
correct,
decisions.
that's where I was going to go. But you asked me which one I wanted, the chocolate cake or the salad.
I know.
So, but there are decisions, like let's say I need to decide if I want to try the drug or not. So here I can say there is a good decision and there is a bad decision. There is
Try
a drug. Let's
drug,
say that
okay.
I was offered an illicit drug.
Oh, okay.
An illicit
Okay.
drug. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so here, my decision is like, am I going to take it or not? So here, again, it comes a lot of determinants that might kind of balance out my decision. First is my belief system. Is it like, it's my belief system and the evidence that I have. And so I don't take drugs. This is not a thing for me. I know how harmful they can be in my body, and I don't want to get in trouble. I might be around people that might put peer pressure on me, and it's still not going to move me. So in this case, yes, there is a right and a wrong. Because
so it's not even right and wrong. It's good for you. You are making this decision.
in this, yes,
Yes, it's.
And this is what I was trying to say. Like, which one is more beneficial to me?
Yeah.
So, but it's going to depend on all of these factors that are around me. Yeah. How much I believe, like, I don't care about what people think. If they think that I'm a loser because I didn't take it, so be it. I'm not going to do that just because you're trying to pressure me into it. But there might be somebody that for them, this is a very important piece of their belief system. And so even though they know that drugs are bad for you, they might go and make that decision and just take it because they want to look cool. So where are you weighting what is important? Where are you weighting what is better for you?
But also, it's not just, it's also experience. Yeah, we don't do it just, to peer pressure, like to go with the peer pressure, but also we don't take something if it wasn't doing something good for us.
Correct.
At least in the short term. Yes, that's the.
Might be that you think this is going to be the escape for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stop feeling whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah.
This might be what, like, I'm going to feel in a cloud nine. I'm going to see pink elephants going down the street and I'm going to be having such a good time. And now I'm just for the record, I'm not saying that this is like, we shouldn't take drugs, but this is what I'm trying to prevent in kids. But like, if we're thinking about decisions, like there are harmful behaviors that we shouldn't be doing. The decision, I think it's a little bit more ambiguous in the sense that from the decision-making standpoint, because this is about weighting, like in your brain, you're weighting the possibilities and you're weighting the consequence versus the reward. And so this is where I'm like, I don't think there's a good or bad. Of course, the behavior and the consequence are going to come. I don't know if that makes sense.
Can I push back a bit on that?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's, I don't think, and again, sometimes I know I generalize too much, but as human beings, I would like to believe we don't do things only because of how it will look like, how it will, what the long-term consequences are and so on. Sometimes it's the kind of the enjoyment of life. We might think, in the long term, going back to your chocolate cake, if instead of making this decision every week, if we were making that every day, and I really love chocolate cake, let's say, I'm like, this gives me pleasure. Yes. So even though I know long-term consequences are not so good, but it's like thinking always about long-term consequences, that makes, well, I think it makes life very sad, yes, because it's like it stifles us, yeah? We don't do anything, we don't go into kind of new experiences or something, because sometimes it's unknown, yes? So, I don't know, I said I'm pushing back a bit. I don't think I'm pushing back. I'm maybe trying to think to myself. It's like, I'm not, how should I put it? it's not that everything, it's like with the intentionality. It's not always, yes. I go sometimes there, and sometimes, it's like, as long as I don't think this is so harmful that I should never do it, I will do something that maybe it's not so great in long term. But if it's done sometimes, if it's done, and again, we always think about this decision making as rational. Well, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. Earlier in my life, I studied something called actuarial science, and there was a formula, the kind of the expectations that you have, and that people would maximize the expected value of something. This is assuming rationality. As we know now that we are super risk averse. So losing $100 versus gaining $100, this is, if you had equal chance, we should go, it shouldn't make a difference to us, but it does. We don't want to lose. We're risk averse. So I'm just going back to this decision making. It's, I know I went very squiggly route.
Squiggly.
But
squiggly.
Squiggly. But don't you think that people making so-called bad decisions, I know you are not calling them bad decisions, but making those decisions, it's not just the peer pressure, it's more like taking off ourselves. So it might be immediate pleasure, it might be something that's this gratification that we're getting right away. So let me ask you a question, because I was going on for too long, and hopefully the editors will cut it out. But the balance between kind of okay, let me ask you a question. How rational do you think we are in decision making? And I know this is a very general question, but it's like, if you were to actually put a percentage on the decisions that we're making in our life, how often are we actually rational?
That's a good question, which I don't know.
Okay. It depends, Paula. It depends.
Yeah. That's it. I think I agree with you. I was given just an example. I don't think so. I think that even bad decisions are necessary to give a feedback into our evidence and in like knowledge system to be able to make another decision. You're not going to learn that if you put your hand in the stove, you will get burned if you don't do it. So now
I learned that when I was a child.
Yeah. Yes. So now you don't do it because you know it burns and it hurts. So this is the thing. I know, like, there are, again, we could say like there is a bad decision because this can be harmful for you. Like, we know there is a bad consequence, but bad decisions feeds back into what we need to know to take later decisions. And so even in good decisions too, like, some people tend to be way more guarded, like less risky, and they will be like doing the boring stuff. Some people are more risky, and those are the ones that I tend to study, because sometimes their systems are so disbalanced that they put their hand in the stove and it hurts, and they will do it again because that feedback doesn't come around. And so it's true. We need to do both. And we do both. That's why we do both short-term and long-term decisions, because some of them are moved by what happened in the moment. And like you said, might be that it's just like an impulse. I'm using it very laxly, this word, but might be an impulse, and I just want to feel good, and I do it. And we do that always. Maybe in things that are not harmful, but we do it. We make decisions all day long. Might be that you say, like, today I'm going to add some more jam to my toast. And that's it. It's not harmful.
See, the nutrition comes out in your examples.
Yes, always. I think it's just like that. It's just embedded in my brain. It's very easy for me to use nutrition.
I have a good example. I have a good example for that, Jarek. And we've been in those situations for a few times right now. Let's think we're in somewhere, let's imagine Warsaw, for example, and it's getting closer to 1 a.m. in the evening, and we know we have a full agenda the next day. But what we do,
I was afraid you were going there.
What we call bonding till 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and then the next day, what I'm going to say, I'm never going to do bonding, or as we call it, read books with you ever again. But then
I'll
in a month's time and whatever, read books is a code for drinking too much. So and then the next day, what you're going to say, I'm never ever going to do it again.
And you do it
So
again.
your system learns, but then after a few months, a half a year, maybe a year, let's make it a year to look better. After a year, guess what's going to happen?
Not
We're gonna
anymore.
do it again. Not
Exactly.
anymore. Yeah, but I'm thinking. I mean, the bonding, or when I then talk from a distance, or after a few months, those are the things that I remember. I don't remember the hangover the next day.
You're waiting. Yes.
I'm waiting, and I remember, when I meet with Jarek, we actually, we like each other and we like to spend time, and we love talking. How do we respect each other till 4 a.m. in the morning? Sometimes, yes.
And it
Well,
makes sense.
There was on this example, actually, this was a long time ago. I took this course on human physiology, and our instructor. This example, I still remember. It was a few decades ago. I still remember this example, and this is about childbirth. She said that if this memory was so ingrained in woman's head, no woman would have another child ever.
Correct.
Because this is something, it's such an experience, and I'm talking about it as if I knew, but it's such a horrific experience for a woman that this is, I mean, the brain or the systems have to, in a sense, forget about it, or diminish it with time in order to have this experience again.
And I don't know much about obstetrics and this type of, this is not my area of expertise, but I think that the brains ended up waiting. So the amount of serotonin that you produce when you have your baby, that outweighs. So what gets into the feedback is that feeling of bonding that you have with your baby. And so probably that information still store a little bit in your brain. But it's not exactly, but kind of similar to what you were saying. You don't remember the hangover. You remember how great it was to spend time with Jarek. Again, this is not my topic, but this is this would be my, this is what I think might happen. You are producing all of these neurotransmitter and hormones that are creating this bonding with your baby, that your brain is going to wait in that specific feeling over all the trauma that you suffer while you were giving birth. But I can also know, I know cases that they had their baby and the process was so traumatic that you would hear them saying, I'm never, ever going to have a kid again. Can't do this anymore. This was such a bad experience. But it's not just about birth. It's just that the whole experience was completely traumatic. And so that's where you're okay, this is it ended up outweighing it because there were so many factors that were negative in this experience that even having their baby wasn't enough to outweigh it. So yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting. And it's actually quite relieving as well. I can now live my life basically waking up the next day saying it wasn't a bad decision, it was just, what did you say, inadequate, or I'm weighing right now the consequences of the decision. This is brilliant.
But this is going, to what I asked Paola, this question about rationality of the decisions, because at 1 a.m., I don't think we're making truly rational decisions. That's, that's especially under influence. This is one of those things that and I won't push you on the percentage of the decisions, but I think it's so heterogeneous that it's like a decision we're making not to go 100 miles per hour in our car or 160 kilometers per hour on a on the narrow road in the mountains, that's, I know when you are doing that, during your racing, that's a different story. But, if we not making such a decision, it's kind of a rational decision. But, if we're under influence or something like that, we might actually do that. So there's this irrationality coming in. But also, when we go on Amazon and say, oh, this looks so good, and it's irrational decision, but you spend $20, it's like, it won't make a difference for like 99.99% of the population. Yeah. So even though it might be a bad or irrational decision, the consequences are minimal.
It's how harmful the consequences can be.
I read, actually, there was this one example that I found it funny. They called it, I know we're not using bad words on our podcast, but kind of F-it money. So they said, don't think about expenses that are less than 0.01% of your,
Income.
not income, it's the assets.
Okay.
So, and they gave an example of, like, there's a famous rapper, I won't give a name, but he was spending like $50,000 on something.
But it's nothing for him.
But for him, if he's worth $5 billion, that's nothing. For us, might be, spending $10 or going to Starbucks. I don't have to think, oh, $5, can I spend it or not? It's just, it's kind of this, we relieve our brain of kind of trying to always make those decisions that are right, good, or inconsequential, basically.
Yeah. And when you said, like, about this irrationality, I think it's more like how tuned the systems are depending on where you are. It's so if you're drinking, your systems they're kind of numb. They're not tuned enough to make a rational or like a long-term decision. But same happens when you're stressed, when you're very tired, or you haven't sleep. Like your brain, this is why like some people do like just like buy everything and anything in the middle of the midnight, because as you said, your brain is not being very rational. Your brain is deprived, and this is why like the logic systems are the ones that would wait out and think the consequence in long term. And we're not talking about $20. We're talking about $1,000 in Amazon, because why not?
But again, it depends for whom. Yes, it's like this 0.01%. That.
Well, the normal people, not the rapper that has billions of dollars. But yes, yes, and there is also like this is specific. What's the word? Like this is specific cases. It will depend on who are we talking about.
Yeah.
Your expenditure, it's going to be different from a student's expenditure, because
you're not a student anymore.
I'm not putting myself there. I'm just saying it's just different. Like that coffee for you might not be nothing, but for a student that it's earning $1,000 or less, that coffee is a lot. So
I've been there. Understand that.
Me too. So yeah.
We all have. Yeah. This is interesting, but it's again, it's relieving. I love this conversation. It will help me out on my less adequate decisions that I've done in my life.
But you shouldn't, you shouldn't excuse your decisions because of it's one of those things.
We'll edit this out. We'll edit this out.
So we get into cognitive dissonance first, because if you start making a lot of like wrong decisions, and just to define them because it was a mood or like it was a quick thing, then like some things are not good for you. Like the evidence, the knowledge that you have, it's still there. And so it's even like when you think, and this happens to your question, I think it also like it doesn't matter who are we talking about. Like this irrationality, I don't think that's the right word, but like this waiting out can happen to anybody. So like I always think about I told you that I went to a practicum in the rural area, and there was one physician. So one of my responsibilities was to teach them how to teach the population to be healthier. So they were, just think like you have like 50,000 people and just one nutritionist. So the way to do it was that I would teach the physicians, and physicians would teach the population. That was the easiest way, because I couldn't see everybody. But we had these like workshops where I was trying to teach them. And one of them, he was very braggy about himself, and he was like, I didn't study medicine to be teaching how to eat healthy. And I remember looking at him and like, now I acknowledge this was maybe not the best, but I was like, clearly you didn't learn anything. And because he was always smoking and had a soda in his desk. And he looked at me and was like, see, this is the thing. Like, I'll go back to the dissonance, but this is the thing. Like, you're arguing about something because in the like deep down, you know, this is not right, but you don't want to do it. Not because you don't want to teach, because you didn't study medicine to teach people. You don't want to do that because then you would look bad, because you're doing the same thing I'm telling you to tell the population to not do. And so here is his dissonance, because he knows that he knew his behaviors were wrong, but he still did them. And he would find an excuse to justify what he was doing. He had the knowledge. He knew that drinking soda and smoking was wrong, that he was getting, and not wrong, that he was getting sick because this is not good for your body, but he still do it. So.
Okay, that is interesting. It's
he wasn't my friend after that.
Coming back to your speed thing, whatever. I do sometimes. Yeah, we'll talk about. So I'll go quicker on a turn, or I'll do something just because, like, come back to your having fun or having a life when I have, I'm using my skills, or I'm doing something not just rational, but also there. I'll say, like, this is a nice. I sometimes see a really nice rally curve, and I'll go way too fast on it. So I'm rationalizing that decision over there and putting it in that consequence. Yeah, all right.
And I think we don't have to think that short-term decisions are wrong, just like our bad decisions. Like, both are needed. That's why we have both. Like, we have part of the systems in place. We need to put everything together. Sometimes you need to make a quick decision. Like, you do need to make a quick decision, because that's like the situation you're in. If you wouldn't be able to do that, then you would be petrified, and it wouldn't be efficient for the whole system, for the whole body. So you have to decide. This is why we have both things. But yeah, one tend to be more emotional, and the other tend to be a little bit more, it does not rationally process things more. So yeah.
Oh my God, this has been a journey. I've tried. I've never thought a simple question like, about bad decisions can get us to philosophical conversations like that. But there's so much more I want to now explore into that area. I have to tell you, and it's truly, truly incredible, the field of study and the things that you have to think on every day. I really enjoyed this conversation on this, Paula. I've never seen Jarek so two poles apart to me as well, and actually Jarek asking for a percentage answer. It's usually me asking for one number, and then he replies, "It depends." It was actually the opposite today. So you've definitely made a massive impact on this small team over here that we do. But it was truly amazing to get to under a bit of a skin of how do we make the decisions and how it's doing. So thank you for that. That was really good.
It was my pleasure. I think it's a pretty interesting topic, because we spent the whole day.
You are a bit biased in that because you're studying it.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm very biased about it, but I think it's fascinating. And we're talking about like normal decision making. If we start talking about risky decision making, which is what I actually studied, it goes deeper into, it goes deeper. But yes, I think it's fascinating.
Let me suggest something to close off that topic. Let me make a very appropriate decision that we will meet up for a good chocolate cake. That's me and Jarek. You're not a chocolate cake person, so you can then choose what you want, and we definitely continue that and get into the details of that.
Sounds perfect.